Chapter 62:16. Hearing Zhongli Mu's words, the expressions of Granny Hua and the others changed slightly, and a complicated look flashed across their eyes. Seeing the change in everyone's expression, Xiao Xuanzi became even more anxious. Why aren't you saying anything? Where is that place? That's the direction of the immortal domain, Zhongli Mu said. Xiao Xuanzi was slightly stunned. With the current situation of his master and the others, it was impossible for them to take the initiative to go to the immortal domain. Therefore there was only one reason why they left, and that was that they must have been captured. It seems that Hong Zhuang and the others might have been captured to mine. Granny Hua sighed. Recently there have been people coming to capture people to mine. I'm afraid that this time they just happened to encounter it. Granny Hua, what should we do now? Zhongli Mu's face revealed a worried expression. During this period of time they had been paying attention to this point, but they did not expect that they would really encounter it. They should be in the spirit-devouring mine now, but you don't have to worry too much. Di Beichen and the others are all smart people. Even if they are captured, they won't suffer a big loss. Yu Hong was relatively calm. Although the cultivation of Di Beichen and the others was still very far away from the cultivators of the immortal domain, they were all very smart. In a situation where they could not win, they would not fight head-on. In comparison, Zhongli Mu was more worrying in this aspect. This kid was too simple and did not understand the twists and turns of the outside world. Then we'll go and save them now? Xiao Xuanzi hurriedly said. He felt a wave of regret in his heart. If only he did not go to find Xiao Hua today. Granny Hua thought for a moment, but before she could speak, Zhongli Sharon's voice rang out. Since they were captured, it's also fate. There's no need to worry for the time being. Let's see if they can come back on their own. Hearing this, Zhongli Mu's expression changed and he asked anxiously, Grandpa, didn't you say that the situation in the spirit-devouring mine is very dangerous? Now that Big Brother D and the others have been captured, how can we sit back and do nothing? That old man Zhongli is right. We've been giving pointers to these kids for a while now. Although they went out earlier than we expected, it doesn't mean that we can't deal with it. Let's wait for the time being. Huo Shukang said faintly. Old woman, the abilities you've given to Hong Zhuang these days aren't bad either. What do you think? Granny Hua raised her eyebrows, and a trace of pride appeared in her eyes. The disciple that I have taught is naturally not bad. It's just that the time I have taught him is still a little short. Since that's the case, let's take a look at the adaptability of these little fellows. Seeing that the seniors had no intention of making a move, Zhongli Mu and Xiao Xuanzi couldn't help but look at each other. This situation was completely different from what they had imagined. Xiao Xuanzi's heart was filled with gloominess, but he couldn't say anything in front of these seniors. His heart immediately became even more gloomy. After the four seniors left, Xiao Xuanzi could not help but ask, Zhongli Mu, will my master and the others be in danger? I don't know either. Zhongli Mu frowned. I heard that the spirit-devouring mine is an extremely dangerous place. Previously, many cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest lost their lives there. That's why everyone hates the spirit-devouring mine to the bone. As soon as he said that, Xiao Xuanzi immediately became even more nervous. Then this can't go on. I have to go find them. Chapter 62:17. Zhongli Mu felt a little helpless. The reason why he told his grandfather and the rest about this was so that they could help. He did not expect his grandfather and the rest to be so calm, as if they did not care about this at all. Then are we just going to wait here? Xiao Xuanzi was annoyed. His cultivation had indeed increased recently, but compared to the cultivators in the immortal region, the gap was still too big. Even his master was taken away, what more him? Xiao Xuanzi, don't worry. We can go take a look around the spirit-devouring mine, but we must be careful not to be caught by others. Zhongli Mu's eyes flashed with confidence. I believe in my grandfather and the rest's foresight. The reason why they are not worried is not because they don't care, but because they believe in Big Brother D and the rest's ability. There was a fundamental difference between the two. He believed that since Grandma Hua and the rest were so sure, then everyone would definitely be able to return safely. All right then. Spirit-devouring mine. The next morning, everyone was awakened by the loud sound of a gong. Everyone get up and go mining. If you don't get up now, you'll have to taste my whip. Hurry up, if you continue to dawdle, I'll whip you to death. The group of cultivators quickly walked out of the house under the manager's roar. No one dared to slow down because once they slowed down they could be whipped at any time. The whip did not taste good. A casual whip could split a person's skin and flesh. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest stood out among the group of skinny miners. Not only did they have to work hard every day to mine, but they also had to eat poorly. Fortunately, because they had to prepare good food for the seniors, they brought a lot of good food with them. Speaking of which, it was strange. They thought that the people here would take their Chengkuan bags immediately, but they realized that Li Wei and the rest did not have that thought at all. However, they later understood that the cultivators in the abandoned immortal forest were just poor people in the eyes of Li Wei and the rest. They did not have anything useful at all. When they first came to the spirit-devouring mine, they were still interested in checking the Chengkuan bags. After realizing that there was nothing useful, they did not bother about it anymore. It was just a waste of time. Holding the bamboo basket and shovel, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest walked into the mine once again. Compared to yesterday's confusion, everyone seemed much more familiar today. The speed of finding the spirit-devouring stone was very slow, but everyone was in good condition. Bailey Hongzhuang spent more than half a day to find 3 spirit-devouring stones. As for the rest of the time, she began to look for her own devouring spirit stone. This thing was so precious. It was said that every piece of devouring spirit stone was an extremely precious item in the immortal domain. This price was also completely explosive. Now that they were in the mine, they naturally prepared some for themselves. Although the process of searching would wear and tear her spiritual power to a certain extent, Bailey Hongzhuang also discovered that the continuous searching could also improve her spiritual power to a certain extent. This situation was similar to the improvement of mental strength. There was a certain effect, but the mental strength consumed by the spirit devouring or was more than the mental strength gained. As time went on, everyone's mental strength would only get worse and worse. Chapter 62:18. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Once this thought appeared in her mind, it could no longer dissipate. Di Beichen and the others were also working hard to find the spirit-devouring stone. After last night's research, the spirit-devouring stone did indeed have a lot of benefits. There were many uses for mental strength. Although they usually didn't pay much attention to it, the use of mental strength was everywhere, whether it was in a fight or other situations. Cultivators could improve their cultivation through cultivation, but it was very difficult to improve their mental strength. It was because of this that the cultivators in the immortal domain needed the spirit-devouring stone so much. After staying in the spirit-devouring stone for a few days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also obtained some spirit-devouring stones. Although Li Wei and the others didn't care about what was in their Chengkuan bag, they were very careful about the spirit-devouring stone. Every day after handing over the spirit-devouring stone, everyone had to walk past a device. This device would check if the cultivator had hidden any spirit-devouring stones. In these few days they had seen cultivators who were caught. Naturally, they were beaten up and even lost their lives. Fortunately, everyone put the spirit-devouring stone into the chaos ring, which allowed them to avoid being checked. At night, after Shangguan Yingying absorbed the energy of the spirit-devouring stone, she found that her mental strength had increased a little compared to before. Immediately, a happy expression appeared on her face. Fortunately, we have the chaos ring. Otherwise, without the spirit-devouring stone, our situation would have gotten worse. Mo Yunjue nodded. The spirit-devouring stone is indeed a good thing. No wonder the mining continues even though we have to pay such a high price. It's a pity that the place where the ores are located is too scattered. It would be great if we could dig a hole where the ores are gathered together. Shangguan Yingying started to daydream. The effect of these spirit-devouring stones was too good. It was a pity that they could only harvest 4 or 5 spirit-devouring stones in a day. Apart from the portion they needed to hand over, there was not much left. There's no other way. Bailey Hongzhuang spread her hands. This is the situation with the spirit-devouring stone. However, I feel that if our mental strength becomes stronger, the range of our detection will be wider, and the speed of our search will be faster. That's right. I just need some time. Di Beichen smiled faintly. The life of mining in the eyes of others was not very difficult for them. When Xiren's expression was relaxed, and the corners of his lips curled into a smile like a spring breeze. Previously, I thought that being caught here was a very tragic thing, but now I feel that it's not so bad. Even though this was the outskirts of the immortal domain, the elemental energy in the air and the laws of heaven and earth were stronger than in the abandoned immortal forest. Even though we don't have as much time to cultivate as before, the speed of our improvement hasn't slowed down by much. Coupled with the improvement of our mental strength, I think it's pretty good. Following Xiren's words, everyone smiled and nodded. This was also what they were thinking. Originally, after being captured, they were thinking about how to leave this place as soon as possible. But now they weren't in a hurry to go back. The next day, when Di Baichen and the others started mining again, they unexpectedly saw two figures. Baichen, from now on, the two of them will follow you to mine. Fang Qing patted Di Baichen's shoulder and said with a smile. Chapter 62:19. I don't have to worry about you. Fang Qing's expression was relaxed. He thought that Di Baichen and the others would fall into deep despair after coming here. After all, from a proud son of heaven to a miner, such a psychological gap was definitely not something that ordinary people could accept. However, the performance of Di Baichen and the others completely exceeded his expectations. They didn't seem to feel that this job was hard at all, nor did they complain too much. They just completed the task on time every day. It was precisely because of their emotions that Fang Qing felt that his mood had become a little more cheerful. Not to mention him, even Li Wei's attitude towards Di Baichen and the others was not as harsh as his attitude towards the others. It was not for anything else, but because these people handed over the spirit-devouring stones that they should hand over every day. After Fang Qing left, Di Baichen let the two newcomers take the bamboo basket and shovel before walking into the mine together. Because their performance during this period of time had been good, the third mine had become their exclusive mine. It was not until they reached the depths of the mine that Di Baichen said, Zhongli Mu, Xiao Xuanzi, why are you guys here too? Didn't we ask Xiao He and Xiao Bai to tell you guys before? We don't have any problems here, don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang also frowned. It was fine if it was Xiao Xuanzi, but Zhongli Mu was the treasure of Senior Zhongli and the others. Now that he had come to the spirit-devouring mine, if Senior Zhongli knew about it, he would be very angry. We know. Xiao Xuanzi nodded. I've always wanted to meet up with you guys. Coincidentally, Zhongli Mu also said that he was coming, so we came together. Although it was not a good thing to come to the spirit-devouring mine, he just wanted to be with everyone, even if it was hard work here. Zhongli Mu, have you told Senior Zhongli and the others about you coming here? Di Baichen asked with concern. Zhongli Mu shook his head slightly, a hearty smile on his face. Don't worry, my grandfather and the others won't worry. Grandfather and the others said earlier that they believe that you definitely have the ability to leave the spirit-devouring mine. What does it matter if I come to find you? When the time comes, we'll leave together. Moreover, I'm also a little curious about this spirit-devouring mine. I don't know what kind of place it is, so I just happened to come and see it. Seeing Zhongli Mu's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. But this kind of character. You didn't go find Xiao Hua? Hearing this, Xiao Xuanzi said with a serious face. Usually I can chase after my wife, but at this time, master is more important. Chapter 62:20. In the abandoned immortal forest. Granny Hua looked at the spirit-devouring mine not far away with a playful smile on her face. Old man Zhongli, didn't you say that there's nothing to worry about? Why are you here today? Huashu Kang and Yu Hong couldn't help but chuckle. Ever since Di Baichen and the rest were taken away, they couldn't help but worry even though they believed that Baichen and the rest could handle everything. After all, these little guys had been with them for so long and were their disciples. They had feelings for them. Most importantly, without these little guys around, they had to eat the same food as before. It was a helpless feeling. Therefore, they secretly came to the spirit-devouring mine to find out more about Baichen and the rest. They thought that they were the only ones who came, but who would have thought that they would find each other? At that time, Huaner, Yu Hong and Huashu Kang looked at each other. After a short moment of shock, the three of them couldn't help but chuckle. It seemed that the three of them came here with the same idea. At that time, Zhongli Xiaoran noticed that the three of them came back sneakily and even mocked them. Now that Mu'er had gone to the spirit-devouring mine, Zhongli Xiaoran couldn't sit still anymore. I'm here to see what you guys are looking at all the time, Zhongli Xiaoran said casually. Hearing that, Huashu Kang and the rest couldn't help but laugh. They didn't believe him at all. Old man Zhongli, what's the point of putting on airs every day? If you're worried about Mu'er, just tell us. We won't laugh at you, Yu Hong raised his eyebrows and said. Zhongli Xiaoran glanced at him indifferently. I'm just wondering when this little brat will come back. Without him, there's no one to cook. Once he said that, Huar and the rest were stunned. They had neglected this problem. After Hongzhuang and the rest left, although Mu'er's cooking skills were not as good as Hongzhuang's, at least there was someone to cook for them. Now that Mu'er was gone, wouldn't it mean that only the four of them were left to stare at each other? Judging from the situation, we should let them come back as soon as possible, Huashu Kang said seriously. Granny Hua nodded slightly. That's right. Let's see what kind of method these little fellows will find to come back. If they come back too late, this old lady will be starved to death. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not know that the four seniors were so worried about them. They only thought that the four seniors were extremely calm and confident in them. They were not worried that they would not be able to leave this place. Therefore they were not in a hurry to leave at all. After all, they had nothing to lose by staying here. On the contrary, they could even increase their spiritual power. Could not be better. On this day, Fang Qing was invited into the house by everyone. Looking at the table full of delicious food, Fang Qing could not help but be stunned. Her eyes flashed with deep surprise. Where did you get so much food? Everyone knew how bad the spirit-devouring or's food was every day. He had already forgotten how long it had been since he last saw such a feast. Brother Fang, we put some food in our cosmos bags earlier. We were lucky that it was not confiscated, so... When Xiren smiled brightly, Fang Qing immediately understood. I was wondering why you guys looked so good. It turns out that you guys live so freely every day. Chapter 62:21. All of this is thanks to Brother Fang's care, so we wanted to come and show our filial piety to you today, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Fang Qing did not stand on ceremony and sat in front of the table. Actually, I didn't help you much. You're all smart people. Even if I'm not here, I believe you'll be able to do well. On the contrary, ever since you guys appeared, I feel that I have more to look forward to. Fang Qing laughed brightly. Come, Brother Fang, let me toast you with this glass of wine. Let's drink together. After 3 rounds of wine, everyone was slightly tipsy. Their faces were slightly red, but everyone's faces were brimming with smiles. Fang Qing then said slowly, I know that you guys should have your own way to absorb the power of the spirit-devouring stone, which is why you can maintain your current state. As soon as these words were said, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others immediately sobered up. They were not surprised by this. Even though they usually paid attention to disguising themselves, they understood that after a long time, they would not be able to disguise themselves even if they wanted to. Noticing the change in everyone's expressions, Fang Qing smiled and said, You don't have to be nervous. I don't have any ill intentions towards you. I just want to remind you that although the spirit-devouring stone can help us offset it, your methods are also very clever and have not been discovered by the steward. However, as time passes, it is inevitable that there will be a day when we will be exposed. Therefore, it is best to think of a way to leave this place. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. It seemed that Fang Qing had been thinking about how to leave the spirit-devouring mine. Initially, when they heard Fang Qing's words, they were still a little worried. However, at this moment, they also understood that Fang Qing really did not treat them as outsiders. In other words, Fang Qing was actually here to find allies. If they wanted to leave this place by relying on their own strength, it would be too difficult. They would definitely need to find allies for this plan to work. Brother Fang, have you found a feasible way recently? Di Beichen said slowly. Fang Qing looked carefully at Di Beichen and the others and said, Are you trustworthy? Brother Fang, since you are telling us this, doesn't that mean you believe us? Di Beichen smiled. His wise eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Fang Qing looked at Di Beichen calmly and seriously. The atmosphere seemed to freeze at this moment. After a while, Fang Qing suddenly smiled and nodded. That's right, I believe you. Speaking of which, it's quite interesting. When I met you guys, I hit it off very well. I always feel that you guys are the most trustworthy people. Fang Qing's honest expression was mixed with a hint of complexity. I don't know why, but I always feel that you guys seem to have your own confidence and are not afraid of the situation here at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were also silent. Indeed, the situation of the spirit-devouring or was not that bad for them. From the beginning to the end, they had treated this place as a kind of experience, as a way to understand the immortal realm more. However, Fang Qing's thoughts were completely different from theirs. This was a place filled with despair. If he stayed here, he could lose his life at any time. Therefore, he was very anxious and only hoped to leave this place as soon as possible. Facing such a Fang Qing, they could not help but feel a little moved. Even if it was only because of the care they had taken these days, they could not turn a blind eye to it. Chapter 62:22. Facing Fang Qing's sincere and serious look, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not turn a blind eye to it. If Fang Qing had schemed against them during this process, they could still ignore it. However, from the beginning to the end, Fang Qing had always treated them as trustworthy people and took care of them. She had not even said a word for so many days. Until today he did not know if it was because he was drunk or because he had not drunk for a long time that he had let down all his defenses. Just from his conflicted look, it could be seen that Fang Qing had been very conflicted about this matter during this period of time. It was only today that she made up her mind. Brother Fang, since you came to us for help, do you already have a countermeasure in mind? There was a hint of seriousness in Di Beichen's eyes. They had not been in the spirit-devouring mine for a long time, so there were many things that they did not know enough about. At least, according to the situation they had learned so far, the entire spirit-devouring mine could be said to be heavily guarded. No matter which way they went, it would be very difficult to escape. The abandoned people in the abandoned immortal forest tried their best to leave almost every day. Even though they had only been here for a short period of time, they had already seen teams escape. However, the result was not good. They were directly caught by Li Wei and the others. Needless to say, the outcome was unavoidable. They were even punished. If it were not for the fact that they still needed to mine, they would have lost their lives. Therefore, without sufficient preparation, they absolutely could not rashly escape. Otherwise, perhaps they would be able to leave this place unscathed, but Fang Qing would be in trouble. I did make some preparations. Fang Qing nodded, her expression a little more solemn. During this period of time, I have seriously understood the situation here. Every once in a while, Li Wei and the others needed to report the recent situation of the spirit-devouring mine to their leader. This day was equivalent to their summary and settlement day. At this time the stewards would leave. Almost every day on this day, they would drink to their heart's content and be in a good mood. Of course, when they leave, they will arrange for more people to guard the spirit-devouring mine to prevent any problems from happening when they are not around, Fang Qing said again. Mo Yunjua's eyes turned solemn. Are you planning to take advantage of this day to escape? Fang Qing nodded slightly. That's right. Today is a very relaxing day for Li Wei and the other stewards. Although they have arranged for many people to keep watch, after my observation during this period of time, I discovered that there is actually a blind spot. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard this. It seemed that Fang Qing had indeed spent a lot of effort to successfully leave this place during this period of time. Ordinary people would be exhausted if they could complete their daily tasks here. At this time, he had to take advantage of the time to observe if there was any way to leave this place. He would have to spend a lot of energy. I can take you to the mine tomorrow, but you must be careful not to be discovered by others. Fang Qing's eyes were filled with nervousness and worry. This is the only feasible method so far. If it is discovered, it will be even more difficult to leave. Everyone nodded. Big Brother Fang, don't worry. We understand. Brother Fang, where do you plan to go after leaving the spirit-devouring mine? Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly asked. Earlier, Fang Qing had already told them that if they didn't have an identity token, they would be discovered even if they entered the celestial domain, and it was no different from a dead end. Chapter 62-23. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's question, Fang Qing hesitated for a moment. Her eyes gradually became firm, and there was a resolute confidence in her. I plan to go to the chaotic immortal realm. The chaotic immortal realm? Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked. She had never heard of such a place in the chaotic immortal realm. Fang Qing nodded slightly. The chaotic immortal realm is different from the crossing immortal realm. The crossing immortal realm is a normal place for cultivators to ascend. If the people of the immortal realm did not change the rules of the crossing immortal realm, cultivators who ascend to the crossing immortal realm would be able to enter the immortal realm as long as they passed the test. The realm of chaotic immortal was another place where one could ascend to immortality in an abnormal way. There were no rules there and only strength was respected. However, the chaotic immortal realm is rich in cultivation resources. Therefore, many cultivators from the immortal realm would go there to plunder cultivation resources. Most importantly, the chaotic immortal realm does not care where the cultivators come from. As long as they can obtain the immortal realm's cultivator identity card and insert their own information, they can become a real cultivator of the immortal realm. Therefore, I want to give it a try. His dark and deep eyes were filled with an indomitable determination. Back then, I struggled for so long before I finally arrived at the crossing immortal region. I'm only a step away from the immortal region. If I don't give it a try, I really won't be satisfied. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others understood. They didn't know that there was a place like the chaotic immortal domain here. As expected, there was always a way to change the situation. As long as Fang Qing could make a name for himself in the chaotic immortal realm, he could still become a cultivator of the immortal realm. If they were in Fang Qing's shoes, they would probably do the same. I understand. Brother Fong, we will help you, Di Beichen said seriously. Staying in a place like the spirit-devouring mine for a long time was just a waste of time. Only in a place like the chaotic immortal realm could cultivators grow faster. He had a feeling that Fang Qing could make a name for himself in the chaotic immortal realm. Fang Qing's eyes shone when he saw Di Beichen and the others' serious expressions. In the cave he did not say anything. Brother Fong, how long until the next gathering? Mo Yunjue asked. 7 days. Mo Yunjue nodded slightly. We don't know enough about the situation here. I suggest that we don't take action immediately after 7 days. Let's observe for a while. After we confirm that this path is feasible, we will wait for a month. His handsome and cold face was expressionless as usual. Only his eyes, which were as deep as a black hole, flickered with a calm light. Fang Qing was immortal realm. He could not guarantee immortal realms cultivators. Immortal realm was immortal realms. The immortal realm was immortal realms was immortal realm was immortal realm was immortal realm. To immortals Fang immortals immortal? Immortal realm. Immortal. Even though he was doing quite well in the spirit-devouring mine, only he knew how desperate he was under such circumstances. However, Fang Qing also understood that the reason why Mo Yunjue did this was to be foolproof. There really couldn't be any mistakes in this matter. Chapter 62-24. Anyway, we've already waited for so long. What's the harm in waiting for another month? Fang Qing smiled. Let's take advantage of the opportunity in 7 days to understand the situation. Everyone nodded. They already had some plans in their minds. In the next few days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others continued to mine as usual. They did not show any difference. Li Wei was very assured of Fang Qing. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could hand over the spirit-devouring stones on time every day, he did not make things difficult for them. After all, every new batch of cultivators was in a good state when they were mining. It was just that as time passed they would get worse and worse. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were mining hard every day. They did not have much time left in the spirit-devouring mine. It was best to take advantage of this time to accumulate more spirit-devouring stones. Once they returned to the abandoned immortal forest, they would not be able to obtain such a treasure in a short period of time. On this day, Fang Qing brought Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to an abandoned mine. This mine is very old. It was once a mine with a high probability of producing spirit-devouring stones. However, as the number of spirit-devouring stones decreased, everyone gave up on this mine and turned to other mines. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at the mine in front of them. The range of this mine was indeed not small. It was undoubtedly deeper than the mine they were digging now. It could be seen that the scene here must have been very lively back then. Then are there no spirit-devouring stones in this mine now? Shengguan Yingying asked curiously. There are still some, but it's harder to find. Moreover, it's more scattered. The same amount of energy will be gained here. It's not worth it, so we gave up. Fang Qing explained with a smile. So that's how it is. Shengguan Yingying understood and sighed. The spirit-devouring stone is really a good treasure. If it wasn't too difficult to find, I would really be willing to search here for a while. Even though mining every day consumed a lot of her spiritual power, under the nourishment of the spirit-devouring stone, her spiritual power actually increased to a certain extent. Don't look at this little increase. She could keenly sense many changes. Even during a battle, she was able to quickly discover the opponent's flaws. If he continued to stay here, even if he spent more time, his mental power would continue to grow. Because of me, your plan was disrupted. Fang Qing was a little apologetic. He understood that with the condition of Di Beichen and the others, it would not affect them to stay here for a little longer. It was just that he really could not stay any longer. Big brother Fang, Yingying only mentioned it casually. Don't take it to heart. Xiren waved his hand. If we stay here for too long, it will inevitably arouse the suspicions of those in charge. 1 month is enough. That's right. If I don't go back now, my grandfather and the others will starve. Zhong Limu sighed. For as long as he could remember, the task of cooking had always been given to him. It wasn't until Hongzhuang came that the task fell on Hongzhuang. Now that he wasn't even by his side, it was really hard to imagine what grandfather and the others would eat every day. Looking at Zhong Limu's simple appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but feel that it was a little funny. Chapter 62-25. Zhongli Mu, don't worry. Before you were born, how did Senior Zhongli and the others survive? Shengguan Ying raised her eyebrows and asked. Hearing this, Zhongli Mu was slightly stunned. Ever since he could remember, he had always been the one cooking. He had never thought about this question. That makes sense. Then I don't have to worry? Zhongli Mu said in surprise. Of course. Shengguan Ying nodded. Senior Zhongli and the others are very powerful. This kind of small matter is not a problem for them. You guys don't know, but Zhongli Mu spent a lot of time preparing food before he left. Xiao Xuanzi suddenly interrupted. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. This kid was really amazing. From the looks of it, he must have calculated the days to prepare things. Zhongli Mu scratched his head in embarrassment. I've never been far away, so, no need to explain, we all understand. Fang Qing listened to everyone's conversation, and a complicated look flashed across his eyes, but more importantly he felt relieved. In fact, he always knew that Beichen and the others had their own trump cards, but he didn't know what this trump card was. However, when he thought about how Zhongli Mu and Xiao Xuanzi actually came to the spirit-devouring mine to mine just because they were worried about their situation, he was especially impressed. This kind of place that was completely like hell in the eyes of others, they actually didn't put it in their eyes at all. Just from their indifferent and casual appearance, these guys were completely here to play and earn a sum of spirit-devouring stones. At this moment, listening to Zhongli Mu's words, he was even more certain that his judgment was not wrong. This situation was definitely like this. We'll try to complete the mission for the day before the steward and the others leave. Then, while everyone is eating, we'll pretend to return to our residence and sneak here. Fang Qing slowly explained his plan. Big brother Fang, no one comes to this abandoned mine, but we can't get out if we stay here. Shengguan Ying was a little puzzled. This mine actually existed in a row with the other mines. If they wanted to get out of here, they would definitely appear in front of others. It was completely useless. I've been preparing for this plan for a long time. Fang Qing smiled faintly. Previously, I specially studied these mines. Because the probability of spirit-devouring stones appearing in this mine was very high, it was also dug the deepest. Therefore, this is the closest mine to the spirit-devouring mine. There are guards all around the spirit-devouring mine. It's impossible to leave from any other place. We'll definitely be discovered. The only way is to leave through the mine without anyone noticing. As soon as he said this, everyone looked at each other, and an unbelievable thought appeared in their minds. Big brother Fang, you didn't dig through this mine, did you? Bailey Hongzhuang was speechless. They had already experienced how difficult it was to dig out the spirit-devouring Oregon. Even if this mine was the closest to the outside, the distance would still be astonishing. If Fang Qing dug through this mine, how big of a project would it be? Chapter 62-26. Hearing Fang Qing's affirmative answer, everyone could not help but open their mouths wide. Their faces were filled with shock. Fang Qing was actually able to dig through such a long mine by herself. How much time and effort would it take? No wonder I can't see you usually. I finally understand now. Xiao Xuanzi's face was full of emotion. Fang Qing probably sneaked here to mine after completing her daily mission. Fang Qing spread her hands helplessly. This is the most suitable method that I've found after staying here for so long. The guards here are very strong. With our strength, we're no match for them. Although this method is very stupid, it's more feasible to implement. Everyone nodded. This was indeed the truth. An abandoned mine. Usually, no one would pay attention to this place. I don't know what method you used to successfully bring the spirit-devouring stones out. When I was digging the tunnel here, I would sometimes harvest some spirit-devouring stones, so I used these spirit-devouring stones. Fang Qing did not hide it. Even if it was an abandoned mine, under his continuous digging, there would naturally be a certain amount of spirit-devouring stones. If he did not have these spirit-devouring stones, he would not have been able to hold on until today. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang understood. She originally thought that Fang Qing also had some kind of treasure that could avoid inspection. Otherwise, Fang Qing would not have such spirit after staying here for such a long time, even if she was slightly better than the others. So this was his method. Let's go and see the farthest place we can reach. Let's confirm if we can really dig through it when we leave. Di Beichen looked ahead and said. Everyone followed behind Fang Qing and slowly walked forward. Although this was a mine, it was very spacious. However, when everyone reached the deepest part of the mine, Fang Qing lifted the black stone slab on the ground. A tunnel that only one person could pass through appeared in their line of sight. Fang Qing was the first to enter the tunnel. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others followed suit. Finally, Xiao Xuanzi moved the stone slab over to cover the entrance of the cave. The entire pit was not big. Because there was only one person, Fang Qing only needed to dig it until it allowed one person to pass through. As they walked forward, everyone finally understood how long Fang Qing had been digging here. Just thinking about it, they could tell how many nights Fang Qing had stayed here. From this, it could be seen how strong his desire to leave this place was. Finally, after walking for an unknown amount of time, Fang Qing's footsteps stopped. It's here. Di Beichen used his mental power to check the situation and nodded. Not bad, we're already very close to the outside. Di Beichen sensed the aura outside after his spiritual power passed through a certain range of the spirit-devouring Oregon. Nevertheless, he withdrew his mental power in an instant. There were guards passing by the mine at all times. If their mental strength was detected by others, then their secret would be exposed. According to my observations during this period of time, there aren't many people guarding this mine because no one would think that someone would use this method to leave. Fang Qing lowered her voice. On the day the stewards go out to gather, the cultivators guarding the outside of the mine will enter to guard the cultivators in case anyone wants to escape. Chapter 62-27. From the looks of it, this method is indeed feasible. Di Beichen's lips curled into a faint smile. As long as they walked out of the mine, they would be in the abandoned immortal forest's range. At that time, they would only need to be careful not to be caught by others, and they would be able to return smoothly. Fang Qing was elated to receive everyone's affirmation. He had been mining for so long just for this day. Actually, it's a little difficult for me to get out with my own strength, so I need your help. Everyone's eyes shifted. Big brother Fang, what do you need our help with? So far, Fang Qing had already planned everything. It seemed like he did not need any help at all. There's a layer of restriction at the other end of the mine that has been dug out. Earlier when I was chatting with Li Wei, I got some information from him. He said that it's impossible to pass through this mine without 3 cultivators of the Radiant Sun realm and above working together. As soon as he said that, everyone's hearts sank. So, this was the most crucial problem. All of their joy seemed to have been dispelled at this moment. Di Beichen frowned slightly. Big brother Fang, we're only at the Heavenly Moon realm. The difference between us and the Radiant Moon realm is too great. After Fang Qing's introduction, everyone already understood that only cultivators who had reached the Radiant Moon realm and had a certain understanding of the immortal Tao could ascend to the immortal crossing domain. Compared to the cultivation that could be increased with hard work, the understanding of the immortal Tao was the most important. This was an illusory feeling that could not be achieved with the help of outsiders. Only one day, when you suddenly had an epiphany and had a better understanding of the world's rules, could you see the entrance to the immortal crossing domain and ascend. It was only then that everyone understood why so few cultivators from the upper realm were able to ascend to the upper realm. That was because the second condition really depended on luck. Some people only needed a moment of epiphany after breaking through to the Radiant Sun realm, and some people who had already broken through to the Radiant Sun realm would never be able to ascend without an epiphany. The rules of heaven and earth were the higher realm. I understand. Fang Qing nodded. I'm a cultivator of the Radiant Sun realm. At the same time, I have a talisman. This talisman can simulate an attack from a cultivator of the Radiant Sun realm. Not only that, I heard that this restriction has been in place for a long time, and it is gradually fading. In such a situation, in addition to the fact that cultivators have been trying to break the restriction and leave for so many years, I believe that the power of the restriction is not as strong as before. As long as all of you combine your strength and attack it together, we might be able to break it. Fang Qing's gaze was serious. This was his only hope. If he couldn't escape this time, then he would never be able to leave this place. Although Di Beichen and the others were not strong enough, they were the only ones he could trust in the entire spirit-devouring mine. Hearing this, everyone fell into deep thought. Fang Qing had been preparing for this matter for so long. If they could not succeed this time, it would be equivalent to breaking all of Fang Qing's dreams. Seeing that everyone had fallen into silence, Fang Qing could not help but become anxious. Without the help of others, it would be impossible for him to leave this place with his strength alone. Chapter 62-28. Brother Fang, it's not that we're unwilling. We're just worried that if we can't break this restriction with our strength, it would be equivalent to destroying all your hopes. Di Beichen's expression was solemn. Even though they had not known Fang Qing for a long time, they really hoped that Fang Qing could leave this place and successfully enter the immortal realm in the future. If they cut off Fang Qing's hope because they were not strong enough, this was obviously not an acceptable result. That's right, Brother Fang. Could it be that there are no trustworthy Brilliant Sun Realm cultivators in the spirit-devouring mine? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. If there is, I believe that he will be willing to keep this a secret and leave together. Fang Qing shook her head helplessly. These days, because I have a good relationship with Li Wei, in the eyes of many cultivators, I am in cahoots with him. Other than you new cultivators who don't have any hostility towards me, no one else can get close to me. Under circumstances that are beneficial to both sides, they probably won't make such a choice, Mo Yunjue said slowly. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal benefits. I've tried before, but because both sides don't trust each other enough, I can't tell this secret to others. They're on guard against me being sent by Li Wei to test them, and I need to be on guard against them. Instead of working together in such a situation where we don't trust each other, it's better to give up. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other. They could understand Fang Qing's thoughts. If they did not meet a friend who was trustworthy enough, it would be equivalent to handing their lives over to others. Don't worry. I've already summed up some experience from the cultivators who tried to escape. With your strength combined, you'll definitely be able to break through this restriction. Fang Qing looked at everyone nervously. I don't have any more time. Because this restriction is gradually loosening, Li Wei and the others have already reported this situation. In 3 months, the Immortal Realm will send out array masters to reinforce the restriction. When that time comes, I really won't have a chance. Everyone was slightly stunned. They did not expect all of this to happen so coincidentally. Looking at Fang Qing's expression, they understood that even without them, Fang Qing would probably want to give it a try. If they missed this opportunity when the restriction weakened the next time, he would probably be like the other cultivators with no chance of leaving. Brother Fang, we understand. Di Beichen's eyes were deep. Since you trust us so much, we'll definitely do our best when the time comes. We'll definitely do our best. Thank you. Fang Qing looked at everyone's. Even if they were not strong enough, it was better than nothing. It was worth it to gamble everything in exchange for a sliver of freedom. After understanding of the situation, Mo Yunjue said Fang Qing shuddered to the outside world, to the outside the restriction of the Immortal Realm. Fang Yunjue's Fang? All right. Xiao Xuanzi became the leader, leading everyone back the way they came. However, just as he was about to return, Di Beichen's footsteps suddenly stopped. Chapter 62-29. Beichen, what's the matter with you? Bailey Hongzhuang saw Di Beichen stop and asked with concern. Di Beichen just stood there quietly. His black eyes were filled with shock and doubt. It took him a long time to recover. Wife, use your mental strength to sense this place. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was a little puzzled, but she still carefully sensed it. She couldn't help but widen her eyes when she sensed it. Her exquisite and beautiful face was filled with astonishment. How could this be? Previously, because the spirit devouring or had the effect of exhausting mental strength, even if everyone came here, they had not used their mental strength. After all, other than mining, it was obviously not appropriate to waste mental strength in such a mine with an extremely low yield. Di Beichen only thought that Fang Qing had already dug this road so deep when he passed by. No one else had been here before, so there might be spirit-devouring stones nearby. It was just that this discovery was a little unexpected. After everyone saw Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang's reactions, they all used their mental strength to investigate. With this, everyone's reaction was the same. Oh my god, am I seeing things? Shengguan Yingying rubbed her eyes. She had never thought of such a scene. Unless all of us are seeing things, all of this is real. Bai Li Yanche said. Xiao He jumped excitedly on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder. Her huge round eyes sparkled with excitement. Master, are we rich? We are indeed rich. Her cherry-pink lips curled up slightly, and her gorgeous face became even more delicate and beautiful like a flower. Under the detection of their mental strength, there was a large number of spirit-devouring stones in front of them. At a glance, there were at least thousands of them. These spirit-devouring stones were not scattered, but gathered together. They were also black spirit-devouring stones. If they were not careful, they would be treated as ores. However, the rich power emitted from them was obviously not fake. How is this possible? Fang Qing looked at this scene in shock. He had spent a lot of time digging this tunnel and would come here almost every day. However, he had never found so many spirit-devouring stones here. If Di Beichen hadn't discovered it, Perhaps he wouldn't have known that there was a spirit-devouring stone vein here until they left. Bai Li Yin-che chuckled. Big Brother Fong, if you had moved your tunnel to the side you would have found it. I really don't know if I'm lucky or not. Fong Qing could not help but sigh. She had almost discovered such a treasure land, but she had actually missed it just like that. Fortunately, he had brought everyone here today. Otherwise, they would have missed out on these spirit-devouring stones. The spirit-devouring stones here are really strange. There are so many of them gathered together. Ling Er raised her eyebrows slightly. Didn't you say that most of the spirit-devouring stones are scattered? The devouring spirit stones in the mine are indeed scattered, but there is also a situation where the devouring spirit stone veins appear. Only when the devouring spirit stone veins appear will a large number of devouring spirit stones appear together. Chapter 62:30. This place is indeed worthy of being a pit with an extremely high yield of ores. Fong Qing sighed as he looked around. It's just that no one expected there to be a spirit-devouring stone vein below. Big Brother Fong, I can only say that you chose a good place. When Xiren chuckled. There's still a month's time. We can take advantage of this time to collect this spirit-devouring stone vein. And? Everyone's faces were filled with joy. Even though they didn't know enough about the Immortal Realm's situation, just from how Li Wei and the others valued the spirit-devouring stone, they knew that this thing was also very precious in the Immortal Realms. In this way they would at least have more confidence when they went to the Immortal Realms in the future. Moreover, with these spirit-devouring stones, their mental strength could also increase rapidly. Bailey Hongzhuang was very happy. Ever since she learned the summoning technique, what she needed the most was to increase her mental strength. This was because the stronger her mental strength, the more powerful and more demonic beasts she could summon. However, it was too difficult to increase her mental strength. She had already used up all the pills she had refined back then. Now that there were so many spirit-devouring stones, it was simply a heaven-sent opportunity. After the joy, everyone did not delay and immediately began to move. With so many spirit-devouring stones, even if they were gathered together, they were still extremely deep. It would take a lot of time to dig them out. Compared to the usual mining, everyone was full of energy at this moment. The spirit-devouring stone vein was not far from where they were. After spending some time to open up this place, the first spirit-devouring stone appeared in their line of sight. Di Baichen took out the first spirit-devouring stone, and more spirit-devouring stones appeared behind him. The range of the pit gradually expanded, and everyone began to dig around this area. One spirit-devouring stone after another was taken out. The treasures that were rarely seen were now being put into their bags like stones. Sweat dripped from everyone's foreheads, but no one felt tired at all. They only wanted to put these treasures in as soon as possible. After leaving this spirit-devouring mine, it would be difficult to find this spirit-devouring stone again in the future. It was not until the sky was about to brighten that everyone returned to the house when no one was paying attention. Looking at the devouring spirit stones in their respective Chengkuan bags, everyone revealed a satisfied smile. With so many spirit-devouring stones, we don't have to worry about the erosion of spiritual energy. Shengguan Yingying couldn't hide the excitement on her face. I really want to go back and continue mining. Hearing this, everyone laughed softly. Yingying, you really look like a little money grubber. Shengguan Yingying smiled. What's wrong with being a money grubber? This was a treasure. If I didn't have to worry about being discovered by others, I would have really wanted to stay there and mine. The space in my Chengkuan bag is getting more and more full, and I feel like I'm getting richer and richer. After we enter the mine today, let's find a secluded corner to cultivate. Since we have to mine at night, let's not waste time in the mine during the day. We can't let our strength fall because of this. Di Baichen's expression was serious. Ever since he met Nailan Fu and the others, he understood the strength level of the cultivators in the celestial realm. Chapter 62:31. Even if it was just a low-level existence, it was still a formidable opponent for them. It could be seen that they still had too many shortcomings if they wanted to go to the Immortal Realm. Although the Immortal Realm of Chaos was the way to get an identity card, according to Fang Qing's introduction, there were often cultivators from the Immortal Realm there. Since the cultivators from the Immortal Realm of Chaos had the ability to kill cultivators from the Immortal Realm, then their strength was probably not inferior to the cultivators from the Immortal Realm. In that kind of environment, their strength might even be stronger than the cultivators from the Immortal Realm. The environment there was probably similar to the demonic abyss. In that kind of oppressive and bloody environment, if one did not have a certain level of self-protection, it was impossible to survive. All these situations made them deeply understand their current shortcomings. Because they were not strong enough in the eyes of the cultivators from the immortal realm, they were just ants. Only by becoming stronger would they not be trampled on by others. Hearing Di Baichen's words, everyone naturally understood what he meant and immediately nodded. We understand. Even if it's only a month, as long as we can improve our strength a little, the possibility of successfully leaving by then will be higher. Nailan Fu, when I become stronger, I will definitely go to the immortal realm to look for him. A cold light flashed in Xiren's eyes. That guy's arrogant appearance had hurt his self-esteem. When he became stronger, he had to trample all of this back. I hope that guy can live until then, Mo Yunjua said lightly. After dawn, everyone handed their cosmos bags to Bailey Hongzhuang and put them into the Chaos Ring. Only a divine tool like the Chaos Ring could avoid detection and be discovered by others. In the depths of the mine, everyone found a secluded corner and began to cultivate. Di Baichen quietly set up a small vital qi formation at the side, causing the vital qi in the surroundings to become denser. However, because it was a small vital qi formation, the effect was not big and it was not easy to be noticed. Not only that, when building the small vital qi formation, Di Baichen also added a small formation. If any cultivator came within 100 meters of this place, he would be able to detect it immediately. After everything was set up, Di Baichen returned to the team. Now that they knew the location of the devouring spirit stone vein, they had to be even more careful. They could not be discovered by others too early. It would be a real pity if he was forced to leave this place. Seeing that Di Baichen was becoming more and more proficient in setting up spirit arrays, everyone's hearts calmed down. Even though there was still a huge gap between them and the cultivators of the immortal region, it was fortunate that this gap was constantly shrinking. Whether it was cultivation or other aspects, everyone was making rapid progress. This was already the best situation. It wasn't until evening that everyone exited their cultivation state. Everyone placed 3 spirit-devouring stones in their baskets and slowly walked out. When Li Wei saw that everyone had completed their tasks, he didn't care too much about it. In his opinion, these people were a team. The reason why they were so evenly distributed was probably because they had helped each other. They didn't mind such a situation as long as they could complete their missions every day. However, they didn't know that compared to the spirit-devouring stones they handed over, the spirit-devouring stones they obtained were much more. In the dead of night, the sky was filled with stars. Chapter 62-32. The abandoned mine was very quiet. Usually no one would come here. However, when they went to the mine, they had to be careful to avoid being seen by others. It was not until they arrived at the mine that everyone quietly heaved a sigh of relief and quickened their pace towards the tunnel. They had been digging for spirit-devouring stones here for several nights, but the size of this spirit-devouring stone vein was almost beyond their imagination. Even though they had been putting away the spirit-devouring stones for the past few days, this spirit-devouring stone vein did not seem to have changed at all. The number of spirit-devouring stones left was still a huge number. If only we had discovered this spirit-devouring stone vein earlier. Now that I think about it, we really wasted time. When Xiren wiped the sweat off his forehead and sighed, everyone nodded. They had indeed wasted too much time previously. A month should be about enough. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the pile of spirit-devouring stones in front of her. With so many of them working together, their speed was actually very fast. It was rare to encounter such a spirit-devouring stone vein. No one was willing to give it up. After all, if they wanted to enter the immortal realm in the future, this spirit-devouring stone would probably be of great use. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, everyone could not help but think for a while. Then their hands moved even faster. Although Xiao He and Xiao Bai were in the form of demonic beasts, as 2 money grubbers, their speed at this time was often beyond everyone's imagination. The claws of the 2 little fellows were even more agile than everyone's hands. They quickly moved the spirit-devouring stones into their cosmos bags. Every night, everyone gathered here tacitly. They did not rush back until the sky gradually brightened. Fortunately, everything went smoothly and no one discovered them. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. Just as Fang Qing said in the afternoon, all the stewards went out one after another. At the same time, the cultivators guarding outside the spirit-devouring stone vein also came inside one after another, on guard against any cultivators who would choose to escape today. Just based on the situation in front of us, the security is even stricter than usual. Bailey Yenche sized up the situation in front of him. Usually there were already quite a number of cultivators guarding the place. Now that the cultivators outside had also entered, there was almost one person guarding the place every few dozen meters. Trying to escape under such circumstances was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Because there were a few waves of cultivators who took advantage of this day to escape, gradually, every time this day comes, the spirit-devouring mine will be guarded very strictly. Fang Qing slowly said, because of the change in the guard situation, no one has thought of taking advantage of today to escape. Zyron nodded. If you still want to escape under such circumstances, wouldn't you be courting death? But with so many people gathered here, as long as we leave the mine, our every move will be clearly seen. Under such circumstances, it will be very difficult for us to sneak into the abandoned mine, right? Mo Yunjue furrowed his brows. Usually because there weren't many people rarely paid attention to the abandoned mine. Therefore they were able to sneak over in the dead of night. However, after seeing the way the guards were standing guard today, he felt that it would be more difficult to leave today than usual. That was because it was very difficult for them to even reach the abandoned mine. Chapter 62:33. On the day of the gathering, we just need to think of a way to run to the abandoned mine. All the guards are inside. Even if we dig through the mine, they won't know for a while. When we blast open the restriction, they will need some time to react. As long as we can leave before they arrive, it will be fine. If it were any other time, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to dig through the tunnel in peace. If we are discovered as soon as we dig through, then we won't have any chance. Fang Qing explained his plan to everyone in detail. In fact, he had weighed the pros and cons for a long time before he made up his mind. No matter when, it would be very difficult to escape from the spirit-devouring mine. He had stayed in the spirit-devouring mine for so long and had seen many people try to leave, but so far no one had succeeded. Therefore he spent more time preparing for all of this. Even though he still couldn't guarantee a 100% success rate, this was already the best way he could think of to increase the chances of success. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others expressed their understanding. Thinking about it, every cultivator in the spirit-devouring mine was bought with money. Naturally, they were strictly guarded. If they escaped, their losses would not be small. According to my observations these days, the stewards will come back when it's dark. This was the most relaxed time in the spirit-devouring mine. They would all chat with each other because the miners had already returned to their residences. Therefore, what we need to prepare is to take advantage of this time to escape to the abandoned mine. If we can't escape, then it means that we have failed, Fang Qing said in a deep voice. Understood. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head lightly. After paying 3 spirit-devouring stones, she returned to her residence. On this day, everyone had been carefully observing the layout of the spirit-devouring mine. When night fell, they heard voices of conversation coming from the door. Li Wei and the others were obviously drunk and in a good mood, so their voices became louder. Sounds of conversation could be heard outside, and Bailey Hongzhuang and the others took advantage of this time to tiptoe out of the residence, choosing a more secluded corner to observe the surrounding environment. With this look, they realized that Fang Qing was right. Compared to the meticulous patrolling from before, everyone was obviously much more relaxed now. Many people gathered around to listen to the news brought back by the stewards. Even though there were still many people patrolling the area, because their attention was on the other side, it was very likely that they would take advantage of this opportunity to escape. In order to determine if they could really succeed, everyone did so. The group of people who had changed into night clothes were not conspicuous under the cover of the night. With a sweep of their bodies, they quickly disappeared from the spot. The cultivator in charge of guarding the place only took a glance subconsciously and felt that something seemed to have flashed by just now. However, after noticing that there was nothing, he continued to listen to the steward's conversation. In the abandoned mine. Only when they reached the abandoned mine did they heave a sigh of relief. It was really quite dangerous just now. If I wasn't fast enough, I might have been discovered. Sheng Guanying took a deep breath. When she was running away, one of the guards had clearly looked over. At that time she felt her heart skip a beat, but fortunately she succeeded. Chapter 62:34. If I'm not wrong, after the steward's return, it won't be long before the other guards return to their original places. Di Beichen's expression became solemn again. How much time do we have in between? We have 2 incense sticks of time. Seeing that Di Beichen had already guessed all of this, Fang Qing did not hide it and directly explained the situation. The cultivators in charge of guarding will have a short period of relaxation after talking to the stewards and will soon return to the outside of the mine. However, during this period of time, their attitude will be very relaxed. We ran from our residence to the abandoned mine, then ran to the tunnel, and then dug through the last of the spirit-devouring ores. All of this is really a race against time. Mo Yunjue's expression became solemn. Although everything was almost ready, it was not easy to complete all of this in the limited time. If everything went smoothly, the time of 2 incense sticks of time was very tight. If there was a small mistake in a certain segment that day, then the entire plan might be interrupted. Fang Qing looked embarrassed. There's nothing we can do about it. We only have this chance. Looking at the nervous Fang Qing, Di Beichen smiled faintly and said, "It's theoretically feasible to calculate all of this. We don't have to be too pessimistic. When the time comes, everything might go smoothly." Even though Di Beichen tried to lighten the atmosphere, everyone understood that it was definitely not an easy task to complete all of this. When the time came, they had to exert their fastest speed. After arriving at the tunnel, everyone did not immediately dig. Instead, they went to the deepest part of the tunnel and dug the tunnel a little further forward. It was not until this distance was extremely short that they could completely dig through it with just a little bit of effort. Only then did everyone feel relieved. The spirit-devouring ores were very hard. Even if the inside had been dug through, nothing could be seen on the surface. There was no need to worry about it collapsing. This was one of the benefits. When everyone was ready, they found that the guards outside had returned. They could vaguely hear the sound of conversation. Seeing this, everyone held their breaths and slowly moved to the place where the spirit-devouring ores were and began to dig. In the next few days, everyone passed peacefully. They dug at night and cultivated during the day. Everyone's cultivation base was gradually increasing. "Li Wei, don't you think that Fang Qing's subordinates are a little strange?" Gu Chun moved to Li Wei's side and voiced his doubts. Hearing this, Li Wei could not help but frown. "What's strange? These guys have been in the spirit-devouring mine for more than half a month. They can complete the mission on time every day, and from their state, they are not as pessimistic and depressed as the others. Isn't that strange?" As the steward of the spirit-devouring mine, Gu Chun had been here for many years and had seen many cultivators. Almost everyone who came here had a look of unwillingness on their faces. Mining every day was a painful torture for them. In the beginning, they had to use whips to tell them that there was no other way out. Later on, their mental state would become worse and worse. Chapter 62:35. What's so strange about that? Li Wei asked. Maybe they know that it's useless to resist. Instead of being beaten, they might as well complete their daily tasks obediently and avoid physical pain. That may be the case, but you know the situation of mining. How can they complete their tasks so smoothly every day? Gu Chun's eyes were full of thoughts. And I think their mental state is not as bad as other practitioners. Maybe they are secretly using the spirit-devouring stone inside. As soon as he said that, Li Wei, who had been indifferent, became serious. That's impossible, right? What's impossible about that? Gu Chun asked. Because other people can't complete their tasks every day, they don't have to worry about such a situation. However, these guys are strange. Plus, they are young and strong and have not suffered any physical pain. If they found more spirit-devouring stones and didn't hand them over, since they couldn't take them away, they might have directly absorbed them in the mine. If that's the case, it's terrible. Li Wei's eyes narrowed. They knew the value of the spirit-devouring stone very well. If the miners dared to use the spirit-devouring stone, it would be terrible. I think we'd better take the opportunity to go down and have a look. If that's the case, we must stop it early. Staying in the spirit-devouring mine, they had seen smart practitioners. Many abandoned people did not know that the spirit-devouring stone could improve mental strength. As long as they could absorb the spirit-devouring stone while mining, the effects of the two would cancel each other out. They had never told anyone about this, but if they were found out and the miners followed suit, it would be terrible. Li Wei's face darkened. If he found out that this was the case, he would teach these guys a lesson. How could these abandoned people be qualified to use something as precious as the spirit-devouring stone? As usual, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others chose a remote corner to practice. It was very hot in the mine. Fortunately, the vitality was rich. In order to practice, no matter how difficult the environment was, everyone could bear it. Li Wei and Gu Chun walked into the mine. Along the way they saw a lot of people mining hard, but after looking for a long time, they did not see the figure of Di Beichen and the others. The two gradually confirmed their conjectures. Could it be that these guys are really so daring? Li Wei's anger gradually surged. If this matter was confirmed, even if Di Beichen and the others could complete their tasks on time every day, he would still execute them on the spot. Not only that, he also had to pay a hefty price to make Guchun shut up. After all, his subordinate had done such a thing. Once news of this spread, he would also be punished. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but feel irritated, and his anger exploded uncontrollably. Guchun, on the other hand, was very calm. The abandoned people are not that stupid now. I think that Fang Qing is also a smart guy. You better be a little better. It's not a big deal if I find out about this, but if others find out about it, it might be troublesome. Hearing this, Li Wei fell into silence, but his heart became even more irritated. Sure enough, the reason why this guy reminded him of this was because he didn't have good intentions. Chapter 62-36. Di Beichen, who was cultivating, suddenly felt a vibration in front of him, so he immediately warned everyone, "Be careful, someone's coming." As soon as he said that, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stopped cultivating, picked up shovels and began digging. Di Beichen put away the formation at the same time, and everyone spread out a little. They pretended to be very real and no one could tell that there was anything wrong with them. They were already prepared long ago, so the place where they were digging was where there were spirit-devouring ores. When Li Wei and Guchun arrived, they saw this scene, but they did not directly walk to Di Beichen and the others. Instead, they watched quietly from the back. With their abilities, they could easily see Di Beichen and the others' every move through their mental power. Li Wei heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. Fortunately, he didn't see the scene that he didn't want to see. Guchun frowned slightly and said, "These fellas might have been prepared long ago. It's better for us to continue observing." Although Li Wei did not want to pay much attention to Guchun, he felt that what Guchun said made sense. After all, it was strange for so many of them to stay in the deepest part of the mine. "Be careful, they haven't left yet." Bai Li Yin-che secretly transmitted his voice. As a beast king, his mental power was the most sensitive, and he was also the most sensitive to auras. Even if Li Wei and Guchun did not appear in their sight, he could still sense their presence. "It seems like Steward Li is starting to suspect us." Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sank. During this period they were worried that they would act wrong, so they deliberately pretended to be a little bit. Every time they appeared in front of Li Wei and the others, they would pretend that their mental powers were gradually deteriorating and that their conditions were not as good as before. However, they did not expect to be suspected under such a disguise. At this moment, Di Beichen dug out a piece of spirit-devouring ores, then looked at everyone's bamboo baskets and said, "Is there anyone who hasn't completed today's mission?" Hearing Di Beichen's words, everyone was a little confused at first, but after all, they had been friends for so many years, and their tacit understanding was needless to say. Shengguan Yingying immediately said, "I'm still missing one piece." "I'm also missing one piece." Bailey Hongzhuang sighed and said. Di Beichen threw the spirit-devouring ores to Shengguan Yingying. "Continue digging, you're only missing one piece to complete the goal." At this moment, Bai Li Wei also dug out a piece and said, "Sister, this piece is for you, we can rest today." Everyone couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief as a comfortable expression appeared on their faces. Li Wei quietly watched this scene. This situation was not beyond his expectations. In his opinion, Di Beichen and the others must be helping each other. Otherwise, they would not be able to complete the mission on time every day. "I also have one piece here," Mo Yunjue suddenly said. Today's mission can be considered to have been completed more than expected. Following Mo Yunjue's words, Li Wei and Guchun's bodies tensed up. It was obvious that they were prepared. If Mo Yunjue and the others dared to use this spirit-devouring ores without permission, they would turn them into ashes in the next moment. However, Di Beichen's next words made the two people's bodies relax. Chapter 62-37. It's a good thing that no one usually comes to our location. No one should find out if we hide the spirit-devouring stones here. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. There was a trace of cunning and pride in her eyes. Otherwise, we would have to hand over so many spirit-devouring stones every day. If we can't complete it, we would have to suffer physical pain. It's a good thing that Big Brother Fong taught us this trick. Although our days are quite tough, it's not bad compared to the others. Di Beichen was full of smiles. Since today's mission is completed, let's go back. After a day of mining, I'm exhausted. We can't let go of our cultivation. Otherwise, our condition will get worse and worse. Everyone sighed with emotion. After packing up the bamboo baskets, they turned around and walked towards the exit. It was not until Di Baichen and the others left that Li Wei and Gu Chun arrived at the place where they had been. Looking at the spirit-devouring stones that were hidden tightly at the side, a smile appeared on Li Wei's face. Gu Chun, it seems that you're worrying too much. Gu Chun's expression was a little ugly. According to his judgment, Di Baichen and the others had definitely used the spirit-devouring stones. However, he did not expect to see such a scene after arriving. Were these guys really so honest? No, there was definitely something wrong with this. Li Wei, could they have sensed our approach? Hearing this, Li Wei could not help but chuckle. How is that possible? They're only cultivators in the heavenly moon realm. With their strength, how could they have sensed our auras? Maybe some cultivators are naturally more sensitive to these auras. Without waiting for Gu Chun to finish speaking, Li Wei interrupted him. You're thinking too much. Such a thing would never happen. I've said it before. They're not as complicated as you think. They're just more open-minded than other cultivators. Look at Fong Qing. Didn't he do the same? People like them are much easier to manage than those guys. They can complete the mission every day. Why should we treat them harshly? Gu Chun opened his mouth. Even though he was still full of doubts, he could no longer say anything against it. The scene just now really made him unable to continue to misinterpret Di Baichen and the others, but in the face of such a result really made him somewhat unwilling. Compared to the gloomy feeling he had when he arrived, Li Wei was extremely pleased when he left. Gu Chun, although it's very troublesome to discipline those disobedient abandoned people, it can't be helped. If you want to meet such an obedient subordinate, you can only rely on luck. It's not that easy to meet one. Looking at Li Wei's smug look, Gu Chun was even angrier. Di Baichen's group had quite a number of people, a total of 9. Every day they could hand over 27 spirit-devouring stones. Originally, his monthly performance was about the same as Li Wei's, but ever since Di Baichen's group appeared, his performance couldn't be compared to Li Wei's. This time, Li Wei's number of spirit-devouring stones was the highest. Not only was he praised, he also received a substantial reward. After returning, he carefully observed Di Baichen and the others. He felt that there was definitely a problem. After thinking about it again and again, he confirmed the result. However, he didn't expect that it would be resolved so easily. Thinking about it, he was really unwilling. I'm only doing it for your own good. Chapter 6238. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest returned to the house after handing over the spirit-devouring stones. As soon as they closed the door, everyone's expression changed a little. I didn't expect that we would still be discovered even though we tried so hard to cover it up. I wonder if they believed what we said today? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. Her fair and delicate face revealed a little worry. There was still some time before their plan to leave. If they were targeted at this time, then their escape plan would be even more difficult to carry out. Today, besides Steward Li, Steward Gu is also here. I think Steward Gu might be the one who instigated this. Bai Li Yanche thought and said. Among all the people present, Bai Li Yanche was the most sensitive to auras. After knowing that someone had arrived, they did not dare to use their mental strength to investigate. Once they were discovered, the situation would become even worse. However, according to Bai Li Yanche's words, it was possible that this matter was not discovered by Steward Li, but by Steward Gu. After staying in the spirit-devouring mine for more than half a month, they were also very clear that there was competition between stewards. If Steward Li discovered their problem, he only needed to come alone. There was no need to involve Steward Gu at all. That would only increase the evidence. If that's the case, then the situation may not be as bad as we think. Mo Yunjua's eyes darkened. There's nothing wrong with what we said today. As long as Steward Gu doesn't have any substantial evidence, Steward Li won't believe us. Most people would not choose to believe the words of their competitors. Let's hold back for the time being. We'll be more careful in these 2 days. Let's wait and see what changes Steward Li and the rest have. Di Baichen said slowly. Right now they had a lot of secrets on them. If they were targeted at this time, then their plans would be greatly affected. The next day, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest went to the mine again to dig, they were surprised to find that Steward Li's attitude seemed to be better than before. Perform well. I have high hopes for you. Steward Li patted Di Baichen's shoulder with a proud smile on his face. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were surprised and subconsciously looked in Manager Ji's direction. As expected, Manager Ji's expression turned ugly after noticing this scene. "Hurry up and get busy." Manager Li waved his hand and everyone packed up their things and walked into the mine. Once again coming to the place where he had been yesterday, Di Beichen noticed that the devouring spirit stone that had been hidden here was still there, but the position had changed slightly. Obviously, someone had picked up the devouring spirit stone and then put it back. "Looks like our plan yesterday was a success." Di Beichen's lips curled into a smile. From the expressions of the two stewards today, he could tell that their actions yesterday had made Li Wei proud. That was why their attitude today was so friendly. "Now I can finally be at ease." Shangguan Yingying breathed a sigh of relief. When she came out this morning, she had been worried that something might happen. Once the matter of the spirit-devouring stone vein was known, it would be really troublesome. Not to mention them, even Fang Qing would probably lose her life because of this matter. Even so, we still have to be careful. It's best not to let any clues be discovered these few days. Chapter 62-39. After listening to Di Beichen's reminder, everyone nodded. The plan that they had prepared for so long could not be ruined just like that. Therefore, in the next few days, everyone returned to their original state and searched for spirit-devouring stones every day. For 3 days in a row, everyone did the same. After getting used to their previous daily routine, it was really uncomfortable for them to search for spirit-devouring stones at such a slow speed. Manager Li and the others did not come for the past 3 days. Are we being too careful? Shangguan Yingying's face was bitter. 3 spirit-devouring stones could be dug up in the blink of an eye in the spirit-devouring stone vein, but they needed to spend more than half a day here. Comparing the two, she really did not want to dig. "I don't know, but it's better to be careful." Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. They had no other choice now. Who asked their strength to be inferior to Manager Li and the others? Under such circumstances, they could only be cautious. Once they were discovered, it would be a devastating blow to them. However, just as everyone was bored to death, Bai Li Yanche's voice suddenly rang in everyone's ears. "Be careful, someone is coming." As soon as he said this, everyone immediately perked up, but their expressions did not change much. They just maintained their previous state and continued to dig. This time only Guchun came. He always felt that Di Beichen and the others were strange. The last time they came, they might have made some noise, so they were detected in advance and managed to get away with it. Therefore, he waited for a few days in a row and found some time to come here today. He wanted to take a good look and see if these guys were really as honest as they seemed. However, when Guchun arrived, he saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others digging seriously. Under their feet, potholes appeared. Judging from the situation, these potholes obviously appeared not long ago. Guchun's face suddenly became ugly. He could not believe that all this was real. Could it be that his judgment was wrong? Guchun was puzzled. His intuition had always been very sharp. For so many years he had never made any mistakes, but now he was wrong. This was too unbelievable. After observing them from a distance for a long time, Guchun noticed that Di Beichen and the others were mining seriously. Occasionally they would even complain about how hard it was. Guchun was finally relieved of the doubts in his heart. It seemed that he had really misjudged this time. These guys were not ambitious people. After being caught in the spirit-devouring mine, they were not too unwilling, nor did they think about how to quickly leave this place. All they thought about was how to complete the mission every day without getting beaten up. Such people did exist, but they didn't expect these youngsters' thoughts to be so simple. As soon as he turned his head, Guchun saw Li Wei not far away, and his face suddenly became very ugly. "Manager Gu, I didn't expect you to be so concerned about my subordinates." Li Wei chuckled. Coming to the mine at this time to supervise their mining, how unexpected. After a short moment of awkwardness, Guchun quickly returned to normal. "After the previous incident, I always felt a little uneasy, so I came to confirm it again. Fortunately, the result is the same as before. It seems that I really thought too much." Chapter 62-40. I've said that they're all very simple young people. They're not as complicated as you think, so you don't have to worry so much. Li Wei stared fixedly at Guchun with a hint of anger in his eyes. "I know very well how my subordinates are like. If you have time, you'd better take care of your subordinates." These words could be said to be unceremonious in the end. After Li Wei finished speaking, he turned and left the mine. How could he not understand that Gu Chun was deliberately looking for trouble? If he had something on them, he would inevitably be threatened. Fortunately, Di Beichen and the others were very simple and did not leave any evidence. However, if Gu Chun was allowed to continue like this, wouldn't he have to be on guard at all times in the future? Looking at Li Wei's back as he left, Gu Chun secretly spat and walked out helplessly. This time he had completely cut off this conjecture. After Li Wei and the other left, Bai Lian-che breathed a sigh of relief and said, "They've left." Phew. Shangguan Ying took a deep breath, and her pretty face was filled with emotion. What I say really comes. I just said that the steward wouldn't come and now he's here. It seems that I really can't talk about people casually. Noticing Shangguan Ying's frightened look, everyone could not help but chuckle. After today's confirmation, the two stewards should not come again. Everyone can rest assured. Di Beichen's lips curled up slightly. Gu Chun's unauthorized visit today had already made Li Wei very unhappy. If he did the same thing again in the future, Li Wei would not sit still and wait for death. This is really great. Otherwise, mining here every day really doesn't feel good. Ling Er shook her head. She was really not interested in mining. She only felt that it was a waste of time. Everyone looked at each other and smiled. Di Beichen skillfully set up a formation in front of them. Everyone returned to their usual state of cultivation. Abandoned immortal forest. The moon was above the willow branches and a cool breeze was blowing. Granny Hua looked at the spirit-devouring mine in the distance. Her calm face faintly revealed a hint of longing. These little guys have been in the spirit-devouring mine for quite some time. They haven't come out for such a long time. I wonder how they are doing there? I heard that the life of a miner in the spirit-devouring mine is very difficult. If they don't complete the mission every day, they will be beaten up. Almost everyone in there is sallow and emaciated. Yu Hong sighed. His expression was also filled with worry and pity. Do you think they'll be as skinny the next time we meet? Old man, you don't talk nonsense here. Granny Hua frowned. After hearing what you said, even if I wasn't worried before, I'm worried now. Yu Hong spread out his hands. I'm just telling the truth. Beichen and the others are smart kids. I believe they can handle this, Hua Shukong said. Hua Hua turned her eyes. Then you mean that the people who were caught to mine before were all idiots? Hua Shukong looked at the serious flower and was speechless. Why don't we go and take a look? Hua Hua raised her eyebrows slightly. A hint of excitement flashed in her eyes. Initially, when Hong Zhuang and the others returned home, she did not have such a feeling. However, the spirit-devouring mine was different. Chapter 62-41. Yu Hong and Hua Shukong looked at each other. The spirit-devouring mine was not far away, so it would be convenient for them to take a look. However, just as the three of them were considering whether or not to take a look, Zhongli Sharon's figure appeared. These children will have to go out and train sooner or later. Don't tell me that they will have to accompany them to the immortal domain? When he said this, Granny Hua and the rest were slightly stunned, and a helpless expression appeared on their faces. When they go out to train in the future, we naturally can't accompany them all the time. However, with their current cultivation, it's obviously not the time for them to go out and train. It's fine for us to take a look, right? Soft-hearted. Zhongli Shaoran snorted coldly. If they can't even endure this little bit of hardship, how can we expect them to achieve great things in the future? Old man Zhongli, Mooner is your biological grandson. Now that he is being enslaved to mine every day, you don't care at all? After being labeled as soft-hearted by Zhongli Shaoran, Huader's face revealed a displeased expression. What's the big deal about this little bit of hardship? Zhongli Shaoran's face was calm. Those who achieve great things must suffer the most hardship. Without this kind of training, how can they have the willpower of a boulder? What's more, this was his own choice. He wasn't captured, so he should have been prepared to suffer before he went. In short, the three of you are not allowed to go. After coldly throwing down these words, Zhongli Shaoran left. Seeing this, Huar and the rest looked at each other and rolled their eyes. Old man Zhongli is still as unreasonable as before. He doesn't even worry about Mu'er's situation. I think he is most likely angry at Mu'er's nonsense this time. However, he must still be very worried. Haven't you seen him coming here often recently? Huana raised her eyebrows. The few of them had known each other for so many years. Who didn't know each other? Then what do we do now? Yu Hong asked. What else can we do? Hua Shukong spread his hands. Wait here. Otherwise, it won't be good if old man Zhongli turns hostile. The situation after that was just as Di Beichen expected. Whether it was Manager Li or Manager Gu, they did not appear again. On the contrary, Manager Li's attitude towards them was getting better and better. Fang Qing was a little surprised when she noticed the change in Manager Li's attitude. She even came to ask them what was going on. After understanding the whole story, Fang Qing was also very impressed by the intelligence of Di Beichen and the others. Because of the change in Manager Li's attitude, even the other miners' attitudes towards Di Beichen and the others had also changed. Although they were more careful and did not dare to have any conflicts with them, they also discovered that they were isolated. Compared to the other cultivators who were often punished, they were able to gain the favor of the steward. Naturally, the others were not willing to deal with them. After noticing this, everyone understood what Fang Qing had said before. This feeling of being isolated was not good, but compared to being beaten and scolded, they would rather be isolated. Every night, everyone would mine in the devouring spirit stone vein. After so many days, everyone's harvest was very shocking. At the same time, the devouring spirit stone vein was being dug all the way down, and it was gradually decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chapter 62-42. Looking at the remaining spirit-devouring stones, everyone wished they could have 3 heads and 6 arms. They were already collecting them as fast as they could. It could only be said that the size of this spirit-devouring stone vein was beyond their imagination. There are only 3 days left before we have to start moving. Fang Qing's tone could not help but become a little more nervous. Recently we have performed very well and did not arouse any suspicion. As long as everything goes according to plan in 3 days, we will be able to leave this place. Hearing this, everyone nodded and revealed a satisfied smile. We're finally leaving this place. When Xiren stretched lazily. Every day we have to be on guard against anyone discovering our secret. This feeling is quite tense. Even though they were quietly making a fortune here every night, they couldn't help but worry about all kinds of sudden changes in the situation. Xiren, don't waste time. Hurry up and dig as much as you can. After leaving this place, you won't have such a good opportunity. Shengguan Yingying saw that Xiren had suddenly stopped and could not help but remind him. I got it. Xiren looked at Shengguan Yingying helplessly, but he did not dare to stop. Seeing this, Fang Qing also smiled and said, It is said that the cultivation resources of the immortal realms are far richer than ours. The spirit stones that we use for cultivation are nothing to them. However, this spirit-devouring stone is very important to them. I think that when we enter the immortal realms, this might be our trump card. Otherwise we might starve to death in the immortal realms. Most of the time, money didn't mean much to cultivators. However, when going to an unfamiliar place or even a brand new plane, money was especially important. Among all the people present, other than Fang Qing who had a little understanding of the immortal realms, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others knew nothing. No matter what, the spirit-devouring stone was one of the chips for them to enter the immortal realms. At least with these spirit-devouring stones, they did not have to worry about not having a place to stay when they entered the immortal realms. The more these things the better. I took a look. We have already dug more than half of this spirit-devouring stone vein. Although there are still a lot left, we will speed up these few days. I think even if there are still some left when we leave, there shouldn't be much left. Di Beichen said with a faint smile. In the past month, their harvest could be said to be very rich. I really did not expect to be able to take away so many spirit-devouring stones when we leave. If we succeed in escaping, we will have really made a fortune. Fang Qing's face was full of smiles. On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to the house after mining. Everyone's mood was a little more nervous. Over the past month, everyone's strength had increased. In addition, Zhongli Mu's strength had reached the Radiant Sun realm. Although he was not at the Radiant Sun realm, their combined strength should be able to withstand a blow from a Radiant Sun realm cultivator. Chapter 62-43. The sun set in the west and the sky was filled with red clouds. The night gradually replaced the beautiful color of the setting sun, and the entire land gradually fell silent. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stayed in the house and kept an eye on the movements outside. They were only waiting for the moment when the stewards came back to gather and relax. They took advantage of that moment to rush to the abandoned mine. In this silence, everyone felt that they could even hear their own heartbeats. Shengguan Yingying could not stand this deathly silence. This kind of environment could suffocate people to death. Why haven't the stewards come back today? I'm almost suffocating to death. It should be soon. Fang Qing seemed to be calm, but his hand that was tightly gripping his sleeve still exposed his nervous heart. He was more worried than anyone else that something would happen today. Every time they go to gather, there is a slight difference in the time they come back. However, most of them are at this time, so it shouldn't be too late. Everyone nodded and continued to wait patiently. Time passed by minute. Just as everyone could not help but curse in their hearts, a loud noise finally came from outside. Steward Lee, you guys came back a little late today. Haha, didn't the restrictions near our spirit-devouring mine weaken? That's why we brought it up today. The higher-ups have already promised us that they will send someone to repair this restriction in a few days. When that time comes, you guys won't have to worry so much about guarding outside. Oh, that's great. The guards all revealed joyful smiles. Because the restriction had weakened, they had to spend more energy guarding it. It was not like before where they did not have to worry about napping. This was good news for the guards, but for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, it was a bolt out of the blue. Once the restriction was repaired, it would be even more difficult for them to leave this place in the future. Fang Qing's expression immediately became even more nervous. Originally, he was still comforting himself that because of these spirit-devouring stones, the problem of his spiritual force being eroded had been solved. He did not have to worry about becoming a trash with no spiritual force. If his spiritual force disappeared, then the strength of the cultivator would stagnate and it would be impossible to improve. Even if he was delayed here for another month, it would not be a problem. However, this restriction would be repaired very soon. That meant that if he missed today, he did not know when he would be able to leave in the future. Big brother Fang, don't worry, we can leave today. Noticing Fang Qing's tense expression, Bailey Hongzhuang quietly comforted her. Hearing that light and pleasant voice, Fang Qing finally recovered from her thoughts and nodded heavily. Okay, let's move, Di Beichen said. Everyone had long been ready to go. As Manager Li and the others walked in from the outside, everyone gathered around them to understand the situation. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others quickly rushed towards the direction of the abandoned mine under the cover of the night. Although this restriction was bad news for them, all the guards were very interested in this matter. So at this moment, everyone gathered together to discuss this matter. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were able to escape without a hitch. Chapter 6244. Everyone went to the abandoned mine every night, so they were already familiar with the route. Someone is escaping? Suddenly, a sharp and nervous voice rang out. Immediately after, there was a commotion in the crowd. The stewards and guards who were chatting excitedly suddenly had a change in expression. They picked up their weapons and chased forward. Before Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at the abandoned mine, she heard the voice coming from behind. Her heart immediately tightened. She didn't expect them to be so unlucky today. They were discovered as soon as they took action. She just didn't know who was exposed? Subconsciously quickening her pace, Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at the abandoned mine in a flash. Who else hasn't arrived? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the crowd who had already arrived at the mine and asked nervously. Linger and Ying haven't arrived yet? Di Beichen said in a deep voice. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed. Then let's go somewhere else. We can't expose the location of the abandoned mine. It had taken them so long to open up the tunnel. If they were discovered, then their hope of leaving would be gone. Most importantly, once the news of the spirit-devouring stone vein was exposed, they would all be in a miserable state. Hearing this, Fang Qing and the others nodded solemnly. They immediately prepared to run to the other abandoned mines. At this moment, another voice rang out. Who was caught? Hearing this voice, everyone turned their heads and saw Shengguan Ying and Linger appear in their line of sight. Seeing this scene, everyone present was stunned. For a moment they couldn't react. Bailey Hongzhuang looked carefully at everyone around her and realized that they were all here. Not a single one was missing. What's going on? Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned. All of us are here. Who is the one who was caught? It can't be that there are others who are taking advantage of today to escape, right? When Xiren was secretly speechless. If that was really the case, then they had really hit the jackpot. As long as it's not us, the others can't care. Let's hurry up and leave. Fang Qing's dim eyes suddenly lit up. He had thought that their people had been captured and he had been in despair. At this moment he really heaved a sigh of relief. Go. The group of people flew past quickly, rushing into the depths of the abandoned mine. Once the restriction was strengthened, none of them would be able to leave this place. Therefore, today was the best opportunity. However, when everyone flew into the tunnel, dense footsteps could be heard from outside the mine. I saw him running in this direction. He should be nearby. Li Wei's face was filled with anger. Hurry up and find him. These bastards really don't give up. Every once in a while they would think of escaping. Once we catch them, we must teach them a good lesson. Yes. The dense sound of footsteps immediately spread out, searching in all directions. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly jumped into the tunnel and said in a low voice, "Come in quickly." Everyone realized that if they did not hurry into the tunnel, they would be discovered. Although this abandoned mine was large and it was night, with the strength of these experts, they only needed to use their mental strength to investigate and find where the cultivators were. However, as long as they entered the tunnel, the people in the spirit-devouring mine would know that using their mental strength to investigate the mine would damage their mental strength. They would not be willing to do so. Chapter 62:45. After doing all this, everyone did not even dare to breathe loudly. They maintained their original posture and did not move, afraid that even the slightest movement would attract the attention of others. Ta-ta-ta. Amidst the silence, everyone could vaguely hear the sound of footsteps creeping closer and closer to them. Obviously, this person was the person that Manager Li was capturing. We're just too unlucky. This thought appeared in everyone's minds. They had calculated all kinds of situations, but they had not calculated that someone would choose this day to escape, and even escape to the mine they were in. It was a dead end inside. This person was destined to be captured. At this moment, their only hope was that this cultivator would not get too close to them. Otherwise, if they were discovered, they would really be finished. Bailey Hongzhuang held her breath and retracted her mental strength. She just stood there quietly. If she dared to use her mental strength at this time, she would definitely be discovered very quickly. The people in the spirit-devouring mine were all from the immortal realm. Even if they were just low-level cultivators in the immortal realm, their cultivation was not something that they could fight against. Hurry up and search. We have to find him. This mine is so dark. He really knows how to run. The guards complained as they walked inside. The sound of their soft footsteps stepped on everyone's hearts. Their breathing unconsciously became heavy. Everyone was listening carefully to the movements outside. When the escaping cultivator felt that the guards were getting closer and closer, he also anxiously ran inside. His footsteps were filled with panic. The distance is getting closer and closer. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyes and looked up. The man was only 10 steps away from them. If he got any closer, there was a possibility that they would be exposed. Fang Qing's cold sweat had already soaked the clothes on her back. Her body was as tense as a string, and every second was extremely unbearable. He's there. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded, followed by the sound of footsteps that quickened. After the escaping cultivator was discovered, his heart tightened. He looked around for a place to hide. However, there was no place to hide in this mine. He could only walk around in a mess. In the end, he could only stand there in a daze. You really have guts. You actually dared to escape. The guard slapped the man's face and carried him out. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others quietly heaved a sigh of relief. As long as this man was caught, the others would not stay here for long. However, Manager Li's voice suddenly rang out. Everyone search carefully again. See if there are any cultivators who have escaped. Yes? Just as he was about to leave, he stopped and began to search the area again. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' hearts tightened again. Their hearts were filled with helplessness. They could only secretly pray that these people to leave quickly. Why are you looking so serious? You can see it at a glance. There's no one here. That's right, didn't we know when we captured? Only one person managed to escape here. There's no one else in the other places. That's true, but for some reason, I keep feeling that there's something strange over there. Chapter 62:46. Ta-ta. The slow footsteps got closer and closer. Suddenly, the man's footsteps quickened and he quickly picked up something on the ground. The person following closely behind the man could not help but ask, "What are you picking up?" "Sure," the man quickly covered the latter's mouth. "Keep your voice down. Don't let others hear you." So mysterious. The man whose mouth was covered also restrained his voice. There are actually 2 spirit-devouring stones here. As a brother, don't say that I didn't share it with you. I'll give you one. Don't spread it. The man looked at the spirit-devouring stone in his hand and revealed an excited smile. There was no need to mention the value of this spirit-devouring stone. Even if it was for his own cultivation, it would be very beneficial. Did you find out anything on your side? No, I was wrong. The man immediately said. Since there's nothing, let's go back. The steward is still waiting for us. Okay. As the footsteps gradually faded away, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sat on the ground weakly. Just now the 2 men were right above their heads. Fortunately, they did not notice the entrance. Otherwise it would have been over. They're finally gone. I was scared to death. Sheng Guanying wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. Let's hurry up and leave? If they come back again, it will be terrible. Everyone's faces turned solemn and they quickened their pace towards the back of the tunnel. I didn't expect that today would be such a coincidence. We just happened to meet other cultivators who wanted to take the opportunity to escape. Fang Qing sighed. They should have the same plan as us. They wanted to run out while everyone was talking. It's just that they didn't expect to be discovered so quickly. They accidentally came here while being chased. I really don't know if it's fate. If this person had not been discovered by the people in the spirit-devouring mine, then they could consider taking this person with them. Unfortunately, this person's identity had been exposed before he entered the mine. They could not make a move at all. Otherwise, everyone would be discovered. Although there are some small problems with today's plan because of them, it's not all a bad thing if you think about it carefully. Now, the stewards and the guards must be interrogating them. For a while, I'm afraid they won't be able to check the situation outside. Instead, it will give us more time. Di Beichen slowly said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Everyone took the shovel and quickly dug through the remaining spirit-devouring Oregon. They also successfully arrived outside the spirit-devouring Oregon. The abandoned immortal forest should be up ahead, right? Xiao Xuanzi looked not far ahead. Although the geographical location was a little different, he seemed to be in this area when he and Zhongli Mu came together. Actually, I'm not too sure either. Fang Qing was a little embarrassed. I've never been to the abandoned immortal forest. From the beginning to the end, I've only heard about it from others. However, as long as we break this layer of restriction and leave this place, we will be free. Let's move, Di Beichen said. Even if the guards' actions were delayed because of this matter, it wouldn't take long. Everyone's expressions became serious. Once they tried to attack the restriction, they would be discovered immediately. They only had a short 10 seconds. As long as they opened the restriction, they would leave this place immediately. Only then would they be able to leave before the others arrived and not be captured. Chapter 62-47. We're ready? Everyone looked at each other and began to move together. Bang! Surging essence energy erupted from everyone's body, and the strongest attack landed on the restriction. The moment Fang Qing made his move, the rune in his hand was also crushed by him, and the full-force attack of a Radiant Sun Realm cultivator was unleashed. After Li Wei captured all the cultivators who had escaped, he ordered people to teach them a lesson. He was worried that some of them would slip through the net, so he called out all the miners who were resting. Check carefully and see if anyone else took the opportunity to escape. Yes. The others began to check, and the guards began to count the number of people. Guchun's expression was not good either. Almost every once in a while, something like this would happen in the spirit-devouring mine. They also felt that it was very troublesome. Li Wei, why don't I see Fang Qing and Di Beichen? Could it be that they're the instigators of this escape? Hearing this, Li Wei glanced at Guchun indifferently. What? You still haven't given up? Guchun smiled disdainfully. It's just a few miners. Why would I not give up? However, now that all the miners have come out, those few miners you admire really haven't appeared. Li Wei carefully searched the crowd. After discovering that Di Beichen and the others were really not here, he frowned. He immediately called someone over and whispered to him to look for them. At this moment, an earth-shattering sound suddenly came from outside the spirit-devouring mine. Hearing this sound, everyone's expression changed. Someone's attacking? A trace of astonishment appeared on Guchun's face. These years, many cultivators had tried to escape, but this was the first time that an attack on the spirit-devouring mine had happened. Quickly go and take a look. Li Wei's figure moved and he quickly rushed outside. Although this spirit-devouring mine was usually not visited, there were many people who coveted the spirit-devouring mine. At this moment, everyone could no longer care about the miners. They immediately rushed in the direction of the sound. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the others used their full strength, they also looked at the restriction nervously. If they could not break it, their efforts would be in vain. After the faint restriction endured the attack, it exploded with violent fluctuations. Light constantly flashed, and it was unusually bright in this dark night. Everyone looked at the restriction nervously. With such a large fluctuation, Manager Li and the others would definitely rush over immediately. This restriction can't be broken, right? Looking at the restriction that did not seem to have any changes at all, Shangguan Yingying's face appeared worried. If they could not break it, they could only try to enter the tunnel. At this moment, a small gap gradually appeared in the constantly shaking restriction. Immediately after that, the gap continuously enlarged. Let's go. Fang Qing's eyes. The speed of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others was not slow, and they all rushed towards the outside. Because they had already sensed many auras rushing from behind. Everything could be said to have happened in a flash. Everyone quickly rushed into the abandoned immortal forest. After rushing into the abandoned immortal forest, no one looked back. They just rushed forward with all their might. Chapter 62-48. This hole doesn't look like it was attacked from the outside. Instead, it looks like it was attacked from the inside. Li Wei frowned as he looked at the hole. If there was really an attack, then the other party couldn't have left. Other than that, there was only one possibility left. Manager, what are you looking at? Suddenly a voice rang out. Only then did everyone turn to look at the hole that had been dug through. This should be an abandoned mine. Could it be that they dug through and ran all the way here? Guchun's face revealed a trace of disbelief. If that was really the case, then it was too shocking. Hearing that, everyone looked at each other. If that was really the case, then the person who escaped was really scary. How much time would it take to dig through such a tunnel? That cultivator from before ran into this mine. There's an 80 to 90% chance that they were the ones who dug through this tunnel. The guard said. Li Wei and Guchun looked at each other, then the two of them quickly rushed out of the abandoned immortal forest. No matter who it was that escaped, they had to catch them. Di Beichen and the rest quickly escaped, not daring to stay for even a moment. Just as they had escaped some distance away, they sensed an extremely terrifying aura approaching from behind. Not only was the other party's cultivation higher than theirs, but their speed was also faster. Everyone's hearts were in their throats. They didn't dare to look back and only ran with all their might. Everyone's hearts couldn't help but sink. They didn't expect Li Wei and the rest to be faster than they expected. If this continued, they wouldn't be able to escape. However, just as everyone was a certain distance away, they suddenly realized that the aura that was constantly approaching them seemed to have suddenly stopped. Even though they had some doubts in their hearts, no one dared to stop and only ran as fast as they could. When they sensed that there was no longer any aura behind them, everyone stopped and leaned against a tree, panting heavily. Heavens, this is really a big escape. We were almost caught. Shangguan Yingying's eyes widened. She couldn't calm down for a long time. Judging from the aura that chased after us just now, they should be able to catch up with us. However, I don't know what happened to actually block their footsteps. Di Beichen frowned slightly. When he was running away, he had already realized that the situation was more difficult than they had imagined. He had still underestimated the strength of the stewards. I think we might know this resistance, Mo Yunjue suddenly said. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. They had some guesses in their hearts. Fang Qing looked at the crowd in confusion, but she could not help but smile brightly. I always thought that I would die in the spirit-devouring mine after exhausting all my mental power. Chapter 62-49. I'm going to head to the chaotic immortal realm. Do you guys want to go with me? Fang Qing's gaze fell on everyone. The chaotic immortal realm was his only choice at the moment. If Di Beichen and the others were willing to go with him, it would undoubtedly be the best. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and shook their heads. Big brother Fang, we can't go to the chaotic immortal realm with our current cultivation base. Even if we go, we'll be targeted by others. It's better if we wait until we're strong enough, Di Beichen said with a smile. All cultivators who ascended were at the Radiant Sun stage. Their current cultivation base was too far away from the chaotic immortal realm. Fang Qing was not surprised to hear that. Actually, I've guessed that you guys won't go. If I'm not wrong, you guys haven't been to the chaotic immortal realm. You guys are from the abandoned immortal forest, right? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were stunned. Fang Qing said with a smile, only cultivators at the Radiant Sun stage can reach the chaotic immortal realm. Even if your understanding of the laws of heaven and earth is extraordinary, it's impossible for you guys to reach the chaotic immortal realm. Moreover, people usually ascend alone. It's rare to have friends who ascend at the same time as you. There are so many of you together. It doesn't look like you guys are from the chaotic immortal realm. Indeed. Everyone sighed and smiled. They did not deny it anymore. In fact, they also knew that their words were full of loopholes. However, in order to understand the situation in the crossing immortal region, they could only casually make up some reasons. Big brother Fang, why didn't you expose us since you already knew? Shengguan Yingying asked curiously. It won't do me any good to expose you guys. Fang Qing shrugged. I don't care where you guys are from as long as you're my allies. It's just that when I saw you, I had a faint feeling that perhaps we would become allies. Fortunately, my judgment was not wrong. The abandoned immortal forest is a good place. However, I believe that you guys will come here in the future. I hope that we can meet in the chaotic immortal realm one day. That day will definitely come. Di Beichen said with determination in his eyes. Fang Qing slowly stood up. She looked at the familiar crowd and waved her hand. Everyone take care. I'll go to the immortal domain first. See you again in the future. See you again. Everyone waved their hands and watched as Fang Qing's figure gradually disappeared into the night. Only then did everyone slowly walk towards Zhongli Mu's house. Were the people who helped us stop the steward just now the seniors? Bailey Hongzhuang also heard some clues from the conversation between Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue. At this time, except for the seniors, she was afraid that no one else would help. I think so. Di Beichen nodded. Zhongli Mu's face revealed a look of joy. I knew that Granny Hua and the others were very concerned about us. Otherwise they wouldn't appear in this place. Normally they don't like to go out. As soon as he said that, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were slightly stunned. Then they chuckled. Indeed, they had been with the seniors for so long. They rarely came out during the day, let alone at night. Tonight they actually appeared so close to the spirit-devouring mine. They didn't believe it was a coincidence. Chapter 6250. As soon as they heard this voice, the four seniors had already appeared in front of everyone. The person who spoke was Yu Hong. Thank you, seniors, for saving our lives. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others bowed respectfully. If the four seniors hadn't stopped them just now, then their situation would have been very dangerous. Your reaction is not bad. You guessed that it was us who did it so quickly. Wu Shukong looked at everyone with a smile. When these little guys didn't come, it was nothing. But during this period of time they were really worried about them. Now that they were fine, they didn't have to come here to watch. They could have a good rest in the house. Other than the seniors, who else has the ability to directly stop the two stewards? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a light and sweet smile. Previously, she had always felt that the seniors' strength was extraordinary. Now it seemed that her judgment was right. The seniors did not enter the immortal region because their cultivation was not enough. They just didn't want to. You have a sweet mouth. Granny Hua looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. You've been mining for a while, but your cultivation hasn't fallen behind. Not bad. We're still too weak now. That's why we were caught to mine. How would we dare to delay our cultivation? Although Granny Hua had been teaching Bailey Hongzhuang medical skills on a daily basis, in Granny Hua's opinion, strength was the foundation of everything. Medical skills and alchemy skills could help cultivators improve their cultivation faster. So these were only auxiliary methods. Nothing was more important than strength. Granny Hua nodded with satisfaction. With Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' intelligence, she wasn't very worried that they would be at a disadvantage in the spirit-devouring mine. She was only worried that it would affect their cultivation. As for the consumption of mental strength, they wouldn't care too much. After all, the spirit-devouring stone could restore mental strength. If these little guys' mental strength was really damaged, they could just rob the spirit-devouring mine. It wasn't like they hadn't done such things before. How does it feel to be a miner in the spirit-devouring mine? Hu Shukong chuckled. That's a place where mental strength is exhausted. You've stayed in there for more than a month. Your mental strength is probably damaged, right? Senior Hua, the spirit-devouring stone can help us improve our mind power, so our mind power hasn't been damaged. On the contrary, it has become stronger, Shangguan Yingying said excitedly. Although they had been working hard as miners for a while, the harvest made them very satisfied. As soon as this was said, a trace of surprise appeared on the faces of the 4 seniors. They carefully looked at the faces of the group of little fellows, and it did not look like they had exhausted their mental strength. From the looks of it, the situation seemed to be a little different from what they had expected. This spirit-devouring mine has existed for so many years. Every once in a while, cultivators would be captured to mine. So far, almost no one has been able to escape. With your cultivation, it's already pretty good that you were able to escape. Yu Hong had a satisfied look on his face. Originally, as time went on, he was a little worried. These little fellows had never seen such a scene before, and their strength was completely suppressed. It would be more and more difficult for them to escape. Fortunately, they were very satisfied with the performance of these little fellows. Hearing Yu Hong's praise, everyone smiled at the same time. In fact, they were lucky to be able to escape this time. Chapter 62-51. Didn't you miscalculate? Zhongli Xiaoran's cold voice rang out. His usually expressionless face did not have a single ripple of emotion. If we weren't here, all of you would be dead by now. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhongli Xiaoran turned around indifferently and left by himself. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest looked at each other. They knew that what Zhongli Xiaoran had said was true. If the seniors had not helped them, they would not have been able to keep their lives. The difference in their abilities was too big. Ignore him. This old man has always been like this. Yu Hong winked at everyone. Actually, it was beyond his expectations that all of you were able to come out so quickly. That's right. Zhongli Xiaoran used to have a strong background, so he had high standards. You don't have to take it to heart. Grandma Hua chuckled. The people who were originally worried were relieved after hearing the words of the 2 seniors. However, they secretly made up their minds to work hard in their cultivation. Brother D, I'll go back first. See you tomorrow. Zhongli Mu saw that his grandfather had gone home without saying a word. He immediately turned around and waved at the crowd. Everyone waved back. It was better for them to stay away from Zhongli Xiaoran's serious and low pressure. Looking at the confused crowd, Grandma Hua smiled and said, Zhongli Xiaoran has always been like this. All these years, Munger has always listened to him. I didn't expect Munger to follow you guys to the mine. He's just a little unhappy. Don't take it to heart. Only then did Bailey Hongzhuang understand, her heart feeling somewhat guilty. Although Zhongli Mu had lived in the abandoned immortal forest, he had never suffered much. It had not been easy for him to follow them in the spirit-devouring mine. Alright, now let's talk about your gains from the spirit-devouring mine. Grandma Hua sat on a soft chair in the courtyard. Yu Hong and Hua Shukong also sat on the side and looked at everyone with interest. These people had always been curious about the abilities of the cultivators in the immortal region. After going to the spirit-devouring mine, they should have a certain understanding. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest's answers were completely beyond their expectations. Our biggest gain is the devouring spirit stone. Bailey Hong was overjoyed. Senior, do you need the devouring spirit stone? Spirit-devouring stone? Hua Shukong was slightly stunned. You guys were mining there, so your daily task should not be easy. How did you guys manage to bring back spirit-devouring stones? Take it out and let me see. I want to know how good you guys are at mining. As Yu Hong's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a Chengquan bag and poured out all the devouring spirit stones inside. Originally, everyone was sitting together and there was a circle in the middle. After Bailey Hongzhuang took out the spirit-devouring stones, the center was already full. Huaer and the other 2 originally thought that it was already very impressive that these little guys could bring back dozens of spirit-devouring stones. They knew the environment of that place very well. It was already not easy for ordinary people to dig out 5 spirit-devouring stones in a day. The scene before their eyes instantly stunned the 3 of them. They stared blankly at the small mountain of spirit-devouring stones. Isn't this amount a little too shocking? Yu Hong opened his eyes wide and said, all of you couldn't have robbed the manager, right? Chapter 62-52. What? Not down. When Huaner and the others heard Bailey Hongzhuang say those 3 words calmly, they could not remain calm. You guys didn't just rob the steward, You robbed the entire spirit-devouring mine? Shukong looked at the obedient little guys in front of him in astonishment. They knew how difficult it was to dig out spirit-devouring stones. Even the entire spirit-devouring mine did not have that much in a month. What's going on? Huan became serious after her shock. She originally planned to let these little guys go out to gain experience. Now it seemed that these little guys had turned the spirit-devouring mine upside down? We found a spirit-devouring stone vein in an abandoned mine, so we went there every night to dig for spirit-devouring stones. After more than a month we've gained so much. Di Baichen explained. Spirit-devouring stone vein? Abandoned mine? Huan and Yu Hongzhuang spoke at the same time. Their expressions suddenly became interesting. You guys are really lucky to find a spirit-devouring stone vein in an abandoned mine. Fortunately they don't know about it. Otherwise if they knew, wouldn't they explode? They knew the value of spirit-devouring stones in the immortal region. A spirit-devouring stone vein, who knows how many people would fight for it. However, these little guys were caught to dig in the mine and actually found a spirit-devouring stone vein. Wouldn't people be envious of them if this spread out? Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and said, it should be exploding now. They had already dug through the tunnel. Steward Li and the others would definitely go and take a look at it as soon as they saw it. When they walked through it, they would find the spirit-devouring stone vein. Ah, you guys are really lucky. You guys can find such a treasure. No wonder your mental strength is not damaged. With so many spirit-devouring stones, it would be strange if your mental strength was damaged. At this moment, Huan and the others were also sighing. It turned out that these little guys had not escaped for a while, not because they could not find a way, but because they were all focused on mining. However, with so many spirit-devouring stones, even if they went to the immortal region in the future, they would be rich people. They did not have to worry. After Li Wei and Gu Chun were blocked, they slowly walked back with gloomy faces. I wonder who was the one who escaped. How could he have attracted the attention of these seniors? Li Wei couldn't figure it out. He had some understanding of these seniors. Even though they were disdainful of the abandoned people in the abandoned immortal forest, they did not dare to offend these elders. I don't know. Gu Chun shook his head with a puzzled look in his eyes. These seniors have been living in seclusion here and have never had anything to do with us. Their actions today are indeed a little strange. Those few fellows who managed to escape were lucky. We'll know when we get back. However, when the duo returned to the place where the restriction was destroyed, before they could investigate who had escaped, they saw a guard trembling as he walked out of the tunnel. His face was as pale as paper. Manager, what happened inside? Why do you have such an expression? Li Wei frowned. He was already in a bad mood, and when he saw the man like this, his expression instantly became gloomy and terrifying. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.